It is relatively common for people who shout empathy from the rooftops to be some of the most egotistical people, and not always for the most typically tone deaf reasons. Have you ever met somebody that kind of claims there's only one moral freeway with no additional lanes or on or off ramps? To them, there's only one path to saving the world. And in an effort to find this one path, we sometimes get caught up in the sort of empathy highway that we've created that blocks us off from actually putting empathy into practice. It's like we are so caught up in the morals and ethics of every decision that we've forgotten how to be moral and ethical with each other. We sure do know how to throw some buzzwords around, though, and we sure know how to dwell in an issue without ever really moving on to contribute to rage culture. Today, it almost seems like collective society celebrates the victim mindset. And being in a state of constantly pretending to care only amplifies that. It encourages it. And what's worse is a lot of these spaces are filled with harmful advice under the guise of superficial care and concern. And then there's how people claim to be understanding until it's something that they disagree with. True empathy is being able to understand why somebody makes the choice that they make, even if you don't necessarily agree with it. You claim to understand emotions, but do you have the capacity and the nuance to imagine the emotions felt by the other party that leads them to have a perspective that you disagree with? Or does the compassion cease when you stop concurring? Do you remember doing debate papers in school? I think they were called argumentative essays. They were for us to prepare looking at life through a lens of nuance and ever-changing perspective. People are so instant to assume the worst. This is a society of reactivity, a culture of emotion. These days, we are empowered by rage. So it only seems natural that the general population would instantly jump to the negative when somebody does something that could be perceived as neutral. The same way that there is a million reasons somebody could have done something to be a jerk, there's a million reasons they could have done it in an emergency, in a panic, on accident. Maybe they didn't notice you. Maybe they're in a hurry. For all you know, they just got bad news and they're rushing to the hospital. I think automatically jumping to the worst is a projection. These days, we love to use these buzzwords, these therapy buzzwords, but can we apply them to ourselves? Contributing to this culture of fight now, think later, take up space, hear me roar, is a projection of insecurity. If not insecurity, then you must have some undue hate in your heart. I'm pretty sure that's just basic physics. Things are equally possible and impossible. So it's possible they could have been doing this to be mean. But out of the infinite things that are possible, why would you stress about the things that are possible and negative? One thing I'm grateful that I learned so young is that it's never really that personal, and 9 times out of 10, nobody is really focused on you, nobody is coming for you, nobody is attacking you. I just have to step back from that situation and ask myself what narrative is going on in my head that I'm trying to shove this person into based off of my own past experiences, because that's usually what it is. And as soon as I learned how to do that, it's almost like I ascended. That's when I really stopped caring what other people thought. That's when I really started being carefree and I really started being more authentic and true to myself. I started being more of a why not kind of person, or even like a so what kind of gal. And it's the same way the other way around. I know when people project that upon me, that it's nothing personal, because I know that I hold no anger in my heart. And it's possible that they're just socially traumatized. And even though I disagree with their treatment of me, I'm able to healthily detach. Because at the end of the day, I know their experience is even bigger than just having met and spoken to me that day. They're probably a beautiful person. And like I said with nuance, nobody is all good or all bad. Literally nobody. That's not how being a human works. Even the best, most shining star of a role model does at least one thing in the dark that they're not proud of. And everybody who's done something that they can't come back from, something unthinkable, at least one time in their life, has sniffed a flower or pet a puppy or done something kind for a neighbor. What I'm not doing is playing devil's advocate, but what I am doing is trying to broaden your perspective to the human experience. And real empathy knows where to end. Because how are things going to change where it counts if we exhaust ourselves on every single issue? And I find it ironic that self-proclaimed empathetics, when people don't match their vibe or they're not very polite to them, the first thing they say is, wow, they don't have any empathy or compassion, or how they're such a mean person. Do you see how you just threw up that wall? You're insecure. For all you know, their dog just died. And actually, at one of my old jobs at a diner I worked at, that was the case. A gentleman that came in pretty often, that I had talked to pretty often and had a pretty good relationship with, his dog had passed away the night prior. And if I'm honest, he wasn't very kind that day and he was in a rush. I didn't know that his dog had passed away at that time, but practicing my empathy skills, I realized that there was a million reasons that he could have been acting the way that he was. But all day, it put one of my former coworkers in a pretty sour mood. She let it ruin her day, and she spent about 4 hours of her shift bad-mouthing him for an interaction where he wasn't necessarily mean, but if you had emotional intelligence and situational awareness, and frankly the customer service skills of yesteryear, you would have served him, wished him better, and went about your day. So, what do you think? Do people today just claim empathy to feel better about themselves when really they haven't done the work? Do most people have the capacity to remove themselves from the situation and look at things objectively? Feel free to leave what you think down below. And if you want to hear more thoughts like this, go ahead and subscribe. Now go ahead and have the best, most blessed day. Bye!